Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to share some techniques for working on clear acrylic. These pieces are from Punch Place Plus. They have an amazing assortment of fun acrylic shapes that you can use for artist trading cards, jewelry, pretty much anything, home decor, you name it. And I'll be giving away a gift card to Punch Place Plus on my blog, so make sure you check out the video description for that. Plus I'll have links to the products that I used. I'm going to show you some really fun techniques today for coloring and marking on these acrylic shapes, and I think you're really going to enjoy it because really you have a blank canvas here. The sky is the limit. So without further ado, let's go to the table and start crafting. The thing I wanted to try first was making jewelry. I was so inspired by these different shapes, especially this vintage label that I turned into a bracelet. Now, the label comes flat, but I thought, boy, if I could bend that would just be ideal to wrap around my wrist for a bracelet. And then I used some stretch cords and beads to turn it into a bracelet. I'm going to show you how I colored these different pieces, and also how I punched holes, and how I attached other different odds and ends to make this jewelry. First, let's start with punching the holes, because you're going to need to do that if you want to make the earrings or the other bracelet that is made by 2 tiles. And it's really simple. You're simply going to need a jeweler's type screw punch, and it looks like this. And you'll see there are 2 size holes, and what you want is the smaller of the hole. And if you don't have this, you can simply use a regular carpenter's drill. Just use a very small tip on it, drill bit, that's the word, and just go slowly. So what I'm doing here is I'm centering my screw punch in the middle of that long ATC strip there, and I'm making sure it's about the same distance from the edges as it is from that back edge, and then I'm very slowly turning the screw. You don't want to go very fast or you may crack it. You also don't want to go too close to the edge because you might crack it. If you end up cracking it, then just keep practicing on that wasted piece until you get the feel for how it should be done. I made a mistake and I cracked one, and that's what I turned into the ring, because I figured waste not, want not. You can always do something with these. Now after you've gone all the way through, simply unscrew the punch, and if you're lucky, you should see a nice clean hole like I have here. You can leave your plastic on the backing on the acrylic piece until you're all done punching a hole. Now you want to do the same thing to the other side if you want to create the bracelet link like I did, but use that anytime you need to make a hole in one of these acrylic pieces for jewelry or an ornament. Bending the acrylic is easy. Simply heat up both sides of the acrylic well with a stamper's heat gun, or you can use a hardware store heat gun. Just use it on the lower setting. Heat it from both sides really well, and then what you want to do is find something round like a soup can to act as a mandrel. Now I have my heat gun on a silicone mat so that I can slide my hand underneath it without burning myself when I go to push it on the mandrel. So I'm grabbing this just Campbell's soup can, and I am pressing the warm acrylic piece against it, and that's going to give me that perfect curve that I want. That's the exact same thing that I did with the vintage label shape that I turned into the wider cuff bracelet. Just so you can see there, see how easy it is. I would let it cool before you handle it too much so it can kind of fix itself in place, but that's all there is to it. A clean, simple, mess-free way to color your acrylic pieces is to use a baggie. So what I like to do is just drop my pieces into a plastic baggie and then put in a few drops of my desired color of alcohol ink. This way I get wonderful coverage and my hands stay clean. Just remember to remove the clear film from your acrylic before coloring. For more intense color, you can use the alcohol ink directly onto the plaque like I did on this purple one. I'm simply squeezing some purple and some blue alcohol inks onto the shape that I curved, and you can work on both sides of the vintage label shape or whatever shape you want for more intense colors. And then I went ahead and used some silver metallic ink that gave it that kind of outer spacey look. And then for a little extra touch, I went and I added a clear sealer all over the entire piece, front and back, and then I sprinkled on some fine iridescent glitter, giving it an ultra sparkly and super fun effect. Another great way to decorate the flat acrylic shapes is with rubber stamps. I'm using Stays-On ink, which is an alcohol ink, to stamp onto a flat ATC-sized acrylic piece. Just make sure you take the protective film off first. You can also use acrylic paint to stamp. Just sponge the paint on your rubber stamps and press as you would. Just be careful not to let it slide. And there you can see I got a nice sharply impressed image. So now you can color on the back side of that and not worry about disturbing the ink, or if you're using chart pack markers which have a xylene base, you can color right on top of the design. But if all you have is alcohol ink markers, you can color right on the back. The reason you don't want to color on top of StazOn with an alcohol ink marker is that it will lift up the pigment because it is the same solvent in the ink pad as there is in the marker. Chart packs are different, but it doesn't really matter because you can always flip it over and color it on the back side. Go ahead until you've put in as much color as you would like. If you make a mistake, you can use a clear blending marker to erase any marker that you don't want there. You can also use a Q-tip to blend your colors together. Since both the acrylic piece and the marker ink is transparent, we can layer it on top of pattern paper and get some really beautiful effects. I like this heart paper and I love the really big heart at the bottom, so I thought that would be a perfect place to position our little dragonfly. I'm using Mod Podge to adhere my clear acrylic piece to the pattern paper. Simply paint on a moderate coat of Mod Podge and then press it onto the paper where you want it to end up. All you have to do is press firmly with your hands and make sure there are no air bubbles or wrinkles in the paper underneath. If you need to, you can flip the paper over and rub it from the back side. You can embellish these clear acrylic pieces however you like. I'm using some metal filigree on these two cuff bracelets, but you could use whatever you like, from buttons or tiles or beads, whatever you feel like. I like to use Beacon 3-in-1 glue because it seems to really hold the metal items onto the plastic acrylic pieces. After the glue is dry, you can trim out any of the items that you decoupage the backs of. So what I like to do is simply use scissors, kind of hold them at a slight angle so you're kind of undercutting, and just cut up against the edge of the acrylic. It works really easy and you don't need any special tools. You can also use an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat if you prefer. Another fun technique to use on these acrylic plastic pieces is embossing paste and stencils. It's so much fun. You can either use them plain and keep the background clear, or you can decoupage pattern paper to the back like I did on the one on the left. So what I have here is just a leftover piece that I had already put pattern paper on the back, and we're going to try using a plastic stencil. Honestly, I find plastic stencils a little bit easier to use than brass stencils for this technique. Now all you need to do is get a palette knife or a piece of credit card or something that's like a smooth hard edge and some embossing paste, and you just kind of scoop it up, and then you're going to spread it across the stencil just like you're icing a cake. Don't overwork it, don't fuss with it too much or it might go under the stencil. Just smooth it out in even strokes, and then once you feel like you have it as full as you need it, simply lift away the stencil and reveal the beautiful design. Another technique I want to share today is impressing the surface of the acrylic with a heat tool. So what I'm using is a brass stencil because I know the brass will not be affected by my heat tool, and I'm using a Creative Hot Marks, and I'm tracing the stencil onto the acrylic. And what it's doing is melting like a little channel into the plastic and leaving kind of a burr on top. And it didn't occur to me when I was doing this that this would be really great for people who want to do some home printmaking. And if anybody is curious about this, let me know in the comments below and I will do a tutorial on it, because it just hit me right now that that would be a totally great use of this. But anyways, what you want to do is trace the design from your stencil that you want on the clear plate, and then if you want to enhance the design later, you can just brush over some acrylic paint and it will really make your design pop. But I really think the printmaking idea is going to be fantastic, so just let me know if you want to see a tutorial on that. I hope this video gave you some ideas on using your clear art supplies, and if you don't have any, well, check out our sponsor Punch Place Plus. I'm going to be giving away a $20 gift voucher on my blog, so make sure you check that out. They do custom orders and their stuff is just fabulous quality. If you want to see more information or you have any questions about anything I made, please let me know in the comments below, and I might do some more tutorials on making the bracelets and rings and earrings if you guys want to see them. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting!